of parents is something that's happened once before in that prior case. It is a development that I think people can root for, because if there's not political will to put guns in lockboxes, you can at least hold parents accountable when those guns end up in the hands of their children.
Yeah, I hope we see more of this. And you know, the other thing that strikes me is that they did it so quickly, because I went from sad to angry when I heard that the father, knowing what he knew about his son, gave him that kind of, any kind of weapon, but certainly that kind of weapon.
Yeah, he deserves a trial, and he'll have one, but it's a development that we're watching closely. Drika, thank you again.
Let me ask you this, do you have weapons in the house?
I do.
Are they accessible to him?
They are. I mean, there's nothing loaded, but they are down.
Okay.
We do a lot of shooting, we do a lot of deer hunting. He shot his first deer this year.
Yeah, okay.
You know, so like, I'm pretty much in shock, to be honest with you.
Well,
I'm a little pissed off, to be even really honest with you. So I'm a little taken back by the whole thing, but I can tell you this, I take that very serious, and so does he, as a matter of fact. Like, I don't know anything about him saying shit like that, and I'm gonna be mad as hell if he did. And then all the guns will go away, and they won't be accessible to him. You know, I'm trying to be honest with you, I'm trying to teach him about firearms and safety and how to do it all and get him interested in the outdoors. Mm-hmm. Like on my phone.
You get him away from those video games.
Exactly right. That's the God honest truth, and the picture on my phone is.
I wonder why it didn't hit any red flags for the police when they were having this conversation in 2023. Remember, this conversation is being taken place between the perpetrator's father, and the Georgia Police Department, whichever one it is. I think it's the GBI. Why is it being taken place? It's because the kid had made a fucking school shooting threat already. I wonder why cops just sat down and were like, well, you're one of them good old boys. Seems like you don't want him playing video games. You're a good guy. You're a good guy. The boy's a good guy too, it seems.
The suspect told the officer.
You're a good fucking guy. You're a good parent. You got a good kid out there. Maybe put a decent head on his shoulders. We're moving on.
Him with blood on his cheeks from shooting his first deer. It was just the greatest day ever. Yeah, so he knows the seriousness of weapons and what they can do and how to use them and not use them. So it's kind of a little bit of a shock. So in whatever y'all are telling him, please instill in him that if this is whatever or wherever this is coming from, it's no joke.
Yeah.
Like, it's no joke.
But we wouldn't be here if it was.
No, I know. And I'm telling you right now, we talk about it quite a bit. Okay. All the school shootings, things that happen.
Yeah,
hey, are you getting picked on at school? He is. He's getting picked on at school, and is everything okay? That's why I keep going up there. Yeah. You know, because you never really know, and I don't want anything to happen to him, so... yeah, y'all.
All right, well, if you want to grab them,
y'all talk.
Or we can go in.
It's all cool. Hang on.
The father allegedly gave the gun to his son, despite knowing that his son was a threat to others. What other evidence could play a major role for prosecutors here?
So, Jake, the key that prosecutors have to establish is that the father acted recklessly. And so to that end, I think prosecutors are going to be drawn to the fact that last year, in May of 2023, Georgia police visited the home because of complaints about the son posting online, fantasizing about a school shooting. So I would be looking to prove, A, that the father knew about that visit, and B, that the father knew about those postings. I think if you combine that with the fact that the father then gave the 14-year-old an AR-15 as a gift, I think you have a strong case there.
And Ellie, this is the second time in the history of the United States where a court has held parents responsible for the child's alleged actions in a school shooting. Is this going to become a prosecutorial trend, do you think? And how could this impact what happens in this case, impact future cases?
I do think this is the start of a trend, Jake. Now, that's not to say that every parent will get charged in a school shooting.
It's the start of a trend. Because we're not going to stop it. Like, this only becomes a trend if there's just more school shootings. And because we're in the United States of America, like, there will be more school shootings. So they're just like, if the perps get younger and younger, we will see more legal consequences of their parents, which is going to happen for sure. That's why I said that gun groups will start trying to defend the parents inevitably.
Case. Every case has to rise and fall on its own merits. But I can tell you for sure that when prosecutors come across a rare and extreme circumstance like this, they will get together and say, have we seen anything like this before? And how has it been charged in the past? And now prosecutors in the future, unfortunately, will have two examples, the Michigan case and now this one, where parents contributed, allegedly, to what happened and have been charged. So I do think in the future, sadly, we are going to see more charges along these lines.
And the prosecutors say that more charges are going to come against the suspected teen shooter. Which ones are you expecting?
I think we will see charges relating to all the individuals who were shot and injured but not killed, and that's not unusual, Jake. Typically what you see is the murder charges get lodged immediately so that police can make an arrest.
There was another school shooting today. Holy fuck. Someone in the chat said there was another one? No way. We'll wait for verification on that, but anyway, I'm gonna run another 3-minute ad break. I'm not doing good enough debates today. Sorry. Here's a 3-minute ad break now.
Officer, he had
sorry.
So that the shooter can be put in custody, taken off the streets. And then you'll see the other lesser charges, still very important, but lesser charges, aggravated assault, attempted murder. I think those are going to follow soon.
Ellie Honig, thanks so much. CNN's Isabel Rosales is in Georgia, and she brings us now more on today's court hearing and a community experiencing horrific grief.
You're charged with 4 counts of felony murder.
The 14-year-old suspect in the Georgia high school shooting in court today, with families of the victims just feet behind him. If convicted, Colin Gray would be the youngest mass school shooter since 1998.
The penalty for the crimes for which you are charged does not include death. It includes life without the possibility of parole or life with the possibility of parole.
Just minutes after the suspected shooter left the courtroom, where he did not enter a plea, his father walked in for his own first appearance.
Currently charged with 2 counts of felony murder in the 2nd degree. You're charged with 4 counts felony involuntary manslaughter. You're charged with 8 counts of felony cruelty to children in the 2nd degree.
An arrest warrant for Colin Gray alleges he gave his son a firearm when he knew his son was a threat to himself and to others. It's only the 2nd time a parent has been charged in connection with a mass shooting carried out by their child.
The GBI has arrested Colin Gray, age 54, in connection to the shooting here at Appalachia High School.
Last April, in an unprecedented case, the parents of Ethan Crumley were each sentenced to 10 to 15 years for involuntary manslaughter. The swift arrest of suspect Colin Gray in Georgia partly credited to the new security system the school implemented just 1 week ago. A mobile panic button teachers carry on their ID badges, immediately alerting law enforcement and school authorities.
You think this saved lives?
100% saved lives.
And unlike the school shooting in Parkland, Florida, officers were able to swiftly pinpoint the shooter's location.
26 alerts during the incident when it started. Within 5 minutes of the first alert going off, we had the suspect in custody.
For the victims, the stay in court offers only some solace. The mother of 14-year-old Christian Angulo, one of the students fatally shot Wednesday, fought back tears as she talked about her loss.
He didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve to die like this. I miss him.
Our thanks to Isabel Rosales for that report. I want to bring in someone who works tirelessly to protect children from gun violence. Nicole Hockley is the co-founder and co-CEO of the nonprofit Sandy Hook Promise. We've been talking to Nicole for years. Her son, Dylan, along with 19 other children and 6 adults, were murdered in the horrific Sandy Hook Elementary School mass shooting in December 2012. And Nicole, we have a picture of your beautiful boy up on the screen right now. It is difficult to accept the fact that it's been nearly 12 years since you and your family were forced into such unspeakable tragedy, and yet here we are again. Another mass shooting in a school in the United States, 4 families shattered forever, another community thrown into trauma. It's hard to think of anything positive that could come out of such a senseless act of violence, but you and others continue to work hard to try to find a way to find solutions to fight this. What kind of policies do you think have worked in preventing gun violence?
Well, there's actually quite a lot of policies that can work.
Don't worry, we're gonna get to. Don't worry, we're gonna get to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's response to this school shooting. It's coming up.
Things like secure storage and temporary transfer, also known as an extreme risk protection order. These are ways to temporarily remove access to firearms from someone who could be in crisis or at risk of hurting themselves or someone else. Georgia doesn't have a lot of these state laws on the books. I'm not sure if they have any state laws on the books. So we really want to work with all of the legislators there on all sides to advance policies like that could have helped with this case and could certainly, and have been proven, to stop shootings elsewhere. So there's a lot of simple opportunity that we're seeing work in other states that we can certainly implement in Georgia as well.
This is now the second case in the U.S. where we see a parent being held legally responsible for their child's alleged actions in a school shooting. Do you expect this to become the new normal? Do you support it? And what else needs to change?
I really hope this doesn't become the new normal, because that means that parents are still not taking their responsibilities very seriously in terms of how they keep their children safe from being able to access firearms and how they respond to signs of a crisis or threat. However, I think this is a wake-up call, and I do applaud, what happened in Michigan, and I applaud that this is being prosecuted here in Georgia as well. And I think that this is a wake-up call to any parent that has guns in the home. That's not to say you are a bad parent. It is to say, are you being as safe as you need to be? Are you recognizing signs of crisis in your child? Are you taking action and getting them the support that they need? And are you ensuring that they don't have access to things like AR-15s, especially if they're troubled? These are simple responsibilities that good firearm owners practice. So I think this is a wake-up call to say, you're not immune to this just because of some other laws that are on the books at the moment, like PLACA. This is something that you have to be responsible for. You're responsible for your child. You're responsible for their actions.
At a campaign event in Phoenix yesterday, former President Trump's running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, was asked what specific policies he supports to end this epidemic of school shootings. I want to play some of his answer and get your reaction.
Strict gun laws is not the thing that is going to solve this problem.
This motherfucker says school shootings are a fact of life. I'm letting you guys know that's what he's about to say.
I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets. And we have got to bolster security at our schools. I don't want my kids to go to school in a place where they feel like you've got...
He's not wrong, bro. That's insane.
I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho... Look, I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets. And we have got to bolster security at our schools so that a person who walks through the front door... We've got to bolster security so that if a psycho wants to walk through the front door and kill a bunch of children, they're not able to. And again, as a parent, do I want my kid's school to have additional security? No, of course I don't. I don't want my kids to go to school in a place where they feel like you've got to have additional security, but that is increasingly the reality that we live in. Look, I don't like this. I don't like to admit this. I don't like that this is a fact of life. But if you are a psycho and you want to make headlines, you realize that our schools are soft targets.
It is what it is, boys. It's just a fact of life. That's why we got to harden the fucking schools. It's just weird because this fact of life seemingly only happens in the United States of America. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a fact of life anywhere else. It's just America. I don't understand it. Weird ass fact of life, dude. Bro, this can't work, law. Dude, this is, open up your eyes, okay? This is what the Republicans have been saying now. Every time a school shooting happens, they're like, door control. Then now there's door control. Now it's, you know, we got to arm the teachers. We got to put more security guards at school. Then we got to arm the teachers. Then we got to arm the students, okay? Anything to fucking deflect the accountability away from the profit motive of gun manufacturers in this fucking country. Straight up. Loyal servants of capital. All of them. It's like, bro, there's no amount of dead children overseas that will cause any of these fucking demons to take action in the opposite direction. And when you look at this, it's like, at least there's a little bit of a moral consistency from these fucking charlatans where, like, no amount of American children being slaughtered causes them to take action either. Like, at a certain point, you got to realize, like, yeah, I don't think they give a shit. Like, I just don't think that they care. They just don't care if kids die. You could have a mass shooting, a school shooting in every fucking school once a week. In every school. And they still be like, nah. It's the dummycrats that are responsible. It's the teachers that are training the kids. That's the real reason. They don't care.
Got to have additional security, but that is increasingly the reality that we live in.
What's your reaction?
The reality that we live in is that this is happening and that it's preventable. Accepting that and saying that's just the way it is in America, that this is the way we have to live our lives, is completely unacceptable. And there were armed security at this school. There were armed security at Uvalde. There are armed securities at a lot of mass shootings. They are there to protect, but it's often too late. You need to be ahead of it. You need to be focusing on the signs and getting person help before they ever access a firearm and then bring it to the school. So I think this is, nobody wants their child to go to school in a fortress. We also can't build fortresses in every place of America. More guns is not the answer. More security is not the answer. Getting more help, more tools and resources, and more good gun safety regulation on the books is proven to work in terms of suicide and homicide and mass shootings. I refuse to accept that this is our reality, especially when we have created this reality and have the power to change it.
Nicole, what's your advice for the families who lost their loved ones, and how are you and your family doing?
My advice to the families who lost, I mean, my heart is with them completely, and that needs to be a core focus right now. What sort of help are they getting, and how are we helping them move through this? Because you never get over it. It's almost 12 years since Dylan was killed, and I still grieve.
Doc, what do you mean if schools are fortified, they'll just target a grocery store or a mall? They do that already. They literally already do that. I think we're fucking forgetting. You have to look at what's causing the problem. Like people say mental health, mental health, mental health, and it's like, sure, mental health is a issue. Like, ain't nobody saying like, nah, mental health is not a problem. There are other countries where there are similar levels of mental health issues in the population, and they're not out there fucking doing mass slaughter at schools. So what's up? It's because we got guns, man. Yeah, the biggest mass shooting in U.S. history was a concert.
Grieve for him every single day, and I will until the day I die. And as will my surviving son. You know, I reached out to him afterwards and I said, "How are you doing?" And he said, "This is heartbreaking." He said, even the social media, the texts that are going out on social media as children in that school were reaching out to their parents. So I think we're holding that community in our hearts, and we're going to help them through this in the same way so many communities have helped so many other people through this. And it's going to take time. So I would just say, hold on to the ones that you love, but also when you're ready, use your voice. If you want to, and if you're able to, demand better legislation, demand more accountability, demand people recognize the signs, and even demand things like understanding, getting access to social media records. We know that firearms are marketed to kids. This father gave his son an AR-15 as a holiday gift. I don't know if the child put that on his wish list for Santa because he'd been marketed it from all the things that he saw on social media or not. These are questions that we need to ask to understand why are young people turning to firearms, and what can we do to help them make better choices as well.
We're going to New York now because a judge has just announced that he's postponed the sentencing of the former US President Donald Trump.
Bro. That parent that started a advocacy group, the horrifying events that took place that caused that parent to lose her child and start the advocacy group, is when I completely lost faith in the American legislative body. After Sandy Hook, it was over. You saw a bunch of white kids get fucking slaughtered in a goddamn elementary school. That was the closest. That was the closest that Congress ever got to passing universal background checks. Something that 90% of the American public at the time was in agreement over. 90%. It was polling at 90%. There was a bipartisan bill. Didn't pass.